Welcome to the Mind for Success podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Lebbing, and I love seeing business professionals, leaders, and entrepreneurs have massive success in their businesses. Are you ready to reach a higher level in your business? Are you looking to rise to the top and break through the barriers that are holding you back? If this is you, join us on the Mind for Success podcast. Welcome to the Mind for Success podcast. I'm your host, Kimberly Lebbing, and today I have a special guest on, Collette Portis. She is the CEO of Red Development Group, and she is a master business coach. She's been doing this for a really long time. I'm going to have her tell you a little bit about her backstory. And she's got 100% success rate, which is unheard of, phenomenal. Would love to hear more about that as well. And we're going to talk about, I'm excited about this topic today. We're going to talk about the recession. So we're going to dive right in. So welcome, Collette.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. I am equally as excited to be here because the last conversation you and I had was really great. And so I suspect that this is going to just get better.
I agree. So I would love for you to share, because you've been coaching for a really long time. So I'd love for you to share a little bit, like, how did you get started?
So I have an inability not to chuckle every time that question is asked. So I started coaching at the ripe old age of 16.
Wow.
And it's because I was working for the federal government. My first coaching client was a colonel. And the only reason why I was able to coach high-ranking folks in the military on down is because nobody else in the building knew the Microsoft Office suite. That was so long ago when they had Microsoft Works. We haven't heard of that in a long time. But I knew it. Not only did I know it, Microsoft had certified me as an expert because I was learning it in school and I was taking all of the assessments because I'm a super nerd. And so I want to be an expert at everything I do. And so I did. And we were responsible for, in my role with the federal government, we were responsible for training our reservists before they deploy and all of that kind of stuff. And so, my boss was trying to teach the course and teach them how to use this. And I'm back there going, oh, that's going to get them killed. And then eventually he was like, what are you saying? And so I would go up and go, just do this, like, don't make it complicated. And then eventually I was teaching. And then because it was such a new technology, they had to learn how to deploy that to their troops and teach them to use it, and where should we use it, and how should we use it, and what else can we do with it. And so that's where I came in at. And so I started there. I always go like, where was my supervision? Did nobody tell me I couldn't do that? So yeah, that's how I started.
I absolutely love that. And I just think of like a 16-year-old teaching colonels. I mean, that's phenomenal to me. The amount of confidence that you must have had, or you just didn't know. I don't know, maybe because you were in that environment, but really pretty amazing.
Yes, super confident, not afraid at all. Just like you are human, just like I am. So, and you're in the military. I'm not, so I don't have to do what you say.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. I would love to dive right into our topic. I know when we talked before, we were kind of, what are we going to talk about? And then we both like really lit up when we started saying something about the recession.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and dive in. I know it's a challenge. Like, let's go into like, what are the challenges that you're seeing right now with business owners?
So you know what, the top three things that companies say to me when they hire us is, my company's not making enough money. I need help. I don't have sufficient help. Or they're saying, I need I need to know how to get this product or service to the people that it can help. Because at the end of the day, as entrepreneurs, we're really problem solvers, and we all really want to help as many people as we can. And so those are the top 3 things that they're saying to us. And, the closer and closer we get to, I believe we're already in the recession, but the more and more we get into that, we're going to start hearing that more. But here's the silver lining. There are always winners, and there are always losers. And the job for us as business owners and entrepreneurs is to figure out what the win is for us, no matter what the state of the country is, because somebody is winning everywhere.
Right. Right. I love that because, well, honestly, on the mindset side of it, you're focusing on what's working. So that's a huge key, but also, I mean, it just to be able to give people a little bit of a silver lining. How do you think, so just question with the recession, because I don't know, I feel like that word is it's like a dirty word.
Yeah.
Like for people. So how do you feel like that's affecting people, business owners, entrepreneurs right now? Yeah. Just in their day to day, and what's the mindset of what they're dealing with, and
they're certainly worried about it, and if not worried, but concerned about it, and they're thinking about it on a regular basis. But one of the things that I say is that while, yes, there will be people who will lose a lot, who will not have as many resources available to them, I still need you to know that there's winners. There are going to be winners. Where there's a deficit, where a deficit happens, somewhere something else increases, because that's just the way of the world. Something goes down, but something else goes up. One of the things that we know for sure is during a recession, depression, something like that, our government spends more money because they have the responsibility of taking care of its citizens, right? So while the general consumer might be holding back because they don't have as many resources, our government starts to spend more money. So what that means is switch your customer. So now your customer becomes the government, because the government still has to solve these problems. And I bet you they're probably solving the same or working to solve the same problem you solve. It's just that the purse is held by somebody else, that being the federal government. So during recession, depression, I think the country goes on sale.
I love it. I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah. Everybody's going, the stock market's going to crash. I'm going, oh, I got some money to spend because I'm going to get that stock for less, right? Because it never does this and go all the way down. It never does that. It does this, and it keeps going up and it keeps going up. But yes, it dips and it goes down. But once it goes down, I'm buying it on sale. I don't want to buy it up here. I want to buy it on sale because I know the next curve is up higher than it was before. So I'm not excited about people suffering. I'd never want that, but I want to encourage people to recognize that the country is going to go on sale. The question is, will you have the Christmas money set aside to buy when the sale happens? That's the real question. It's not the time to reserve and hold is not once it happens. The time to reserve and hold is now. Reserve, hold now, change some of your habits, put some things in different places and put it away and hold it so that when it goes on sale, you can buy it, because it is going to go back up. And we see that all the time. Housing prices go down, the housing market crashes, investors, they come in, they buy up everything, and then the market goes back up and they make billions of dollars.
Right.
Preparation. It's always about preparation and planning. Everything. Every opportunity is about preparation and planning. I went and talked to a group of young girls at a leadership academy for girls a couple weeks ago. And the one thing I needed them to hear me say, and I needed them to hold on to, is life is a series of opportunities, period. Good, bad, or indifferent. Life is a series of opportunity. How you overcome or the level of your win for that opportunity is completely based on your preparation and planning.
Oh, that's powerful. That applies to so many things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
It does.
One of the things that I believe in, and there's, I think it's probably 50-50. I believe in prenups.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I believe in prenups is because it's proper planning. I love you right now. You are my sweet thing. And while you're my sweet thing, I want to make sure that you have the best. So if we put this plan together right now, that's going to be what it is. Because at the point that I no longer like you, the plan was put together when you were my sweet thing. So you're still going to end up winning.
I love that. Really hadn't thought about it that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah.
So what's a piece of advice that you might have for businesses that are maybe struggling about, or worried about the recession?
Yeah. I did something in January that I think is probably one of my best works. What I did is I took the steps that I take my business owners through that helps them to measure whether or not they're a worker bee in their company or they're a CEO in their company. And I put all of those steps in an ebook called CEOs Finish Strong. And this is going to help them. You're checking the box, right? And the number, and then you're adding it up at the end to see where you fall in the range. But you're checking boxes that you don't realize that you check every day, but you're not really paying attention to. And then there's going to be boxes that show up and you're like, oh my God, I never thought about that. Those are your blind spot boxes. And then there's going to be boxes that you check easily because you got it, right? So you're going to check boxes for the things you're winning at. You're going to check boxes for the things that you need to improve in. But the biggest thing is discovering the box where you're like, oh my God, I hadn't even thought about it. If you take that and you really go through that checklist and then go back to your team to say, here's what we're missing. Here's where we need to improve. Here's what we better not change because we are kicking butt in this. I'm telling you, I've used it over and over and over and over again for years to help my clients see the success that they need to see. My company and my clients made more money in 2020 and 2021 than the years before.
That's incredible.
It was a pandemic. The whole world shut down.
Right.
But they made more money and none of them sold PPE equipment. None of that stuff happened. But they had a proper plan and they had the steps and they had a checklist that said, okay, I need to make sure I'm focused on these things. And there are different areas. It's like, what is your financing, your budget, your planning, your community connection, your products and services, your performance. So your team, your performance, your executive team's performance. What are your companies? All of these things, there's boxes that need to be checked in order to keep all of that moving your company forward and to create some sustainability.
I love this because, and we'll give you the resources to connect or to find that, download that checklist that she mentioned. Because one of my things that I talk to people about is you can't fix something that you're not aware of. I mean, if you're not, and I think about this applies to so many things, but if you don't even know or think about it, and I think about new business owners that, jump in and they end up creating, and you've probably seen this, I'm sure you help them with this, but they end up creating them a job for themselves. Do you see it? So let's talk about that a minute. Do you see that?
I do. So Kim, we predominantly work with businesses that are established and in the growth stage. But we oftentimes think that that issue is a startup issue. It is so not. It's not.
Yes, I see the same. So I'm with you on that. It's not a startup issue. I see people doing it. They've been in business for a while and they're still doing it.
I've seen companies, I've coached companies that have been in business 13 years. One company had been in business for 43 years.
Wow.
And that was an issue for, now it was a multi-million-dollar company, but that was an issue for its founder. And when he came to me because he was like, Collette, I'm 80 and ready to retire. I just want to go hang out with my cows. I said, all right. He said, I got 5 offers for my business, but I can't sell it to anybody. And I said, well, why? And so we started exploring that why. He had everything was up here with the exception of the fact that he had gone in 1980, built a manufacturing plant in Mexico, but that plant only did the middle of the process. So everything to start the process and in the process was in his head.
Wow.
Yes, this was maybe 7 years ago. He'd had no online presence, so he had no website, no social media, none of that. He still sent out catalogs to all over the world, right? He still had the old cash register, the one where you push the thing down and it pops up. He still had that. I was like, this is a step back into time, right? But he couldn't sell the company, even though he had 5 offers, he couldn't sell the company because he had no standard operating procedures. He had nothing written down, but he was one of the top sellers in the world, right? But he had to be tied to the business. There was no way the business could do what it needed to do every day without him. And so we ended up having to get all of that out of his brain. I told him, listen, you don't have permission to die. I'm telling you that right now. We got stuff to do, right? So we had to get all of that out of this brain and then make him a part of the new world, so that he could then sell the company. Ended up selling the company for 3 times more than what it was worth.
Oh, wow. Wow. And he would have never been able to.
No, he would have had to sell the company plus himself.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I see that too. I mean, I do. And when you have, it's a challenge because I think that people get so wrapped up in what they're doing in the work that they don't think about those things.
Yeah. Because we love our work. We love what we do, but we don't do it so we could be tethered to it for the rest of our lives.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, but I see the same as you where it's not just a newbie person, a new business that struggles with that. It's, as a new business, sometimes you have to be the all and everything because you're still getting things going. Yeah. But somebody that's established, if you really want to make it bigger, scale or anything, you've got to start.
You've got to move it forward. So I'm listening to this book called Thou Shalt Prosper. And I'm always listening to 6 or 7 books at a time. But this book, Thou Shalt Prosper by Rabbi Lapkin is amazing. I love Rabbi Lapkin anyway. But one of the things that he talks about is how in the Jewish community, there's this thought that I don't have permission to keep this to myself. I have to go employ people because I have to help other people do better in their life. I have to give other people the opportunity to care for and take care of their families. I have to give other people the opportunity to come up in life because them coming up in life means I get to come up in life. And if me coming up in life requires that those around me come up in life. And I thought that is such a great way to think about business. So one of my coaches is Grant Cardone and his team. And one of the things we were talking about is how when you're getting on stage. So I'm a speaker, right? So people are afraid to speak. It's one of the number one fears is speaking. And people were asking the question, what if you're afraid and you're an introvert and you're shy and all of that? And so one of the guys told the story about a friend of his and his friend's wife said to him, he was going to speak, and he got super nervous and so nervous that he was almost like, I'll forget it. I'm not going to do it. And his wife said to him, like, how dare you? Do the people out there need your help? And he said, yes. And she said, can you help them? And he said, yes. And she said, well, then why would you be so selfish? And he had never thought about it. He was going out there thinking about himself instead of going out there to say, if there's 500 people in this audience, I need to help at least half of them. So I have to go out here. So it was I get to go out here, or I'm going to go out here.
Mm-hmm.
Switch to, nah, I have to go out here because I have to help these folks.
Yeah, I love this because, I mean, anytime we take the focus off ourselves, it changes I mean, that applies to so many things. When we get offended by people, or, whatever it is, when we take the focus off of ourselves and look at the bigger picture. Yes. I love that. I love the book. We'll make sure we put, a reference to that book in the show notes as well, the Thou Shalt Prosper, because it sounds like a great book. So I'm going to add it to my reading list for sure.
Yes, it's a great book.
Yeah. Yeah. So what else would you like to share to the community? If there was like one tip or one thing that you could give them to help them move forward, what would that be?
So this is the point where you grab your pen or you take your phone out and you open a note so you can take notes, because I'm going to tell you the 3 steps. Keep it simple. I say this all the time. We do a business strategy boot camp, and over 3 days, we take companies through writing their strategic plan. And I'm saying the whole time, keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple. So here's the 3 steps that we use that has allowed us to help 92% of our clients at minimum double their revenue. Step number 1 is evaluate where your company is. That's where this comes. Well, I got all my sticky notes on it. I'll take my. It's okay. That's where this comes in at. Like, evaluate your company. Figure out where you are, because if you don't figure out where you are, if you don't know where you are, it is impossible to get to Chicago unless you're already there. But if you don't know you're there, then you still possibly can't get there because you don't even know you're there, right? Know where you are. Know where your company stands. That's the highest priority for you as a CEO. Then secondarily, once you've evaluated your company, then create a plan. But let me tell you something. And this Rabbi Lapkin talked about this today in Thou Shalt Prosper. You have to ensure absolutely that your plan includes a great plan for the number 1 asset in your business. The number 1 asset in your business are your people. I see so many strategic plans and business plans that does not include, and when I'm talking like major corporations, I mean companies that have been around for 100 years. I'm not talking about your mom and pop shop, your small. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about, I've seen Fortune 5 companies that failed to include a plan, a great plan for your people. It has to include that. It's your number 1 asset. So why wouldn't you create a plan for your people? So make sure you have a plan that has solid goals that people can buy into. Keep it simple, right? You don't have to give us the fluff. Keep it very simple so we understand it and we can get behind you. And those who don't want to get behind you, get out of your way.
I love it. I love it.
Right?
Yeah.
And then last, execute, 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 execute. 83% of the companies that create their strategic plan only see it through for 60 to 90 days, and then they go back to their bad habits.
Wow.
But of the 17% that actually see it through, those are the ones that are at the top of the stack. Those are the ones that are 10xing their business, that are growing their teams, that have excellent customer service, that's not having an issue with workforce. Those are the companies that are winning on a regular basis. And those are also the companies who understand we're about to go into a recession. These are the things we need to scale back on so that we can push through the recession and still survive. Those are the 3 steps. Simple as that. Evaluate where your business is, create a sound plan to get to the goals you need to get to. And then lastly, execute, execute, execute. If you create a plan and that plan doesn't do one of 2 things, help you understand how to restructure your team so that they can efficiently and effectively execute the plan, or identify where you have holes in your team and who you need to go get so you can effectively and efficiently execute your plan, then you might not be building that plan right.
Right. Execution is everything, because
Yes.
otherwise it's just a big old waste of time.
So many do it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's interesting. It makes me wonder, as a mindset coach, what's stopping them from executing. But, we have people like you in the world who can help them execute and can help them move forward.
But Kim, in my experience, there's a couple things that I recognize, and then I'm going to tell you guys part of my story and why I'm so passionate about what I do and why I do what I do. But I've come to understand, if your 6-year-old is going to play football, the first thing you're going to do is find a coach. You're not going to go buy cleats first. You're not going to go buy shoulder pads first. You're not even going to go buy a helmet first. The first thing you're going to do is find a coach. If you're going to play baseball on the adult league, the first thing you're going to do is going to find a coach. If you want to relaunch your singing career, I can go on and on and on. The first thing you're going to do is go find a coach. For whatever reason, in our culture, we have come to this conclusion that one of the hardest things you're ever going to do in life, which is start a business, grow a business, scale a business, we don't need a coach. We can figure it out. Nobody thinks they can figure out football. Nobody thinks they can figure out soccer. So why do you think you can figure out business?
I love this, because you're so right. You're so right.
What about our minds make us go, I can figure this? Like, I sometimes am having a conversation with a prospective client, and here's when I know that I'm probably likely not going to bring them on as a client, or at least not now, because they'll say things like, well, I need to figure this out and this out and this out before we start. Well, if you haven't figured it out by now, you're probably not going to figure it out.
Right.
The point of your coach is so that they can just tell you what to do and you don't have to figure it out. But for whatever reason, we think that we're going to magically figure it out now because we've decided that we think we want to hire. That is just not how it works. It's absurd when you hear it.
It really is. It really, I could go on with this. We could go on with this topic a while, because I was just talking to somebody. I actually recently put a Facebook post up about this whole thing, because when I needed something, and I wasn't like this in the beginning, I started out with that mindset of, I can do it myself. I can figure it out. I can do, whatever. But then I figured out that it doesn't work that way. And the faster you hire someone to help you, it speeds everything up.
Yes.
And I mean, it takes you from being stagnant to like moving forward. You make more money, like everybody thrives. But one of the things that I sometimes, and these aren't good people for me either, is, if they're looking at it as a cost versus investing, and that's huge.
Yeah. So, okay. So, I often get tapped to share my opinion about different things. So I was asked a couple of days ago to look at this software and share and their website and share my opinion. Love the software, but the language on the website. So today I finally sent my response and I said, the language is incorrect and misleading. You have to say what you can do, and you have to help us understand what we can couple this with and where is this thing going to get us to? Because if you just tell us that the language was something similar to what the language communicated is, you won't need a coach if you use this software. I'm like, well, that ain't true. So I said in my response, I said, in less than 6 months, we helped a company go from 177,000 in revenue to more than a $500,000 in less than 6 months. Then in 12 months, we helped them to get to 1.2 million, and we helped them to go to India, acquire a building, set up their own recruiting center, increase their team by 23 recruiters. Technology won't be able to do that.
Right.
So you're not communicating this the right way. Here's a better way to communicate what you do and how this will benefit them. I said, this thing is like your high school football coach. I'm always referencing sports because I like sports, right? This thing is like your high school football coach, but when you get to college, your high school football coach isn't going to be the one you use.
Right.
Right? When you get to the professional league, your college coach isn't going to be the one you use. But the language said, you won't need any of them. Stick with your high school coach. I'm like, yeah, well, no.
Yeah. It's not a growth mindset.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I knew we were on the same page on that, but that's a hot button for me because a lot of people do look at it as a cost, and then that's all they see, and they just don't, well, I think that's a lot of the reason why people don't.
Well, I always ask people, okay, so would you pay me $15,000, which is what my client paid, for me to help you make 1.5 million?
Right.
Raise your hand if you would, right? Keep your hand down if you wouldn't. If you have the right coach, because I can admit that there are a lot of people who carry the title coach who are not effectively and efficiently giving people what they say that they can give them. And so they're not getting results. I met a lady who, she was a COO of this company, and her and the CEO and the CFO of the company decided to take on a coach. And this particular coach that they brought on, they ended up paying them $250,000 over a 90-day period and not getting any of the stuff that they were promised. So I can acknowledge that things like that happen. But here's the other piece. That's why CEOs finish strong is important. You know why? Because once you go through the checklist, if there are boxes that you cannot check, then you know who you need to go get. You know what questions to ask them. Can you help me with X? Can you give me examples of how you've helped somebody get to Z? Can you give me references? And please call the references. Can you give me references that can validate what you said? Or can you show me case studies where you've gotten the work done? Right.
That's what I was going to say. Check the people that you're looking at, check them out, because you're right. There's a lot of, and same post I was talking about earlier, there was somebody that commented that, and she was a coach who had hired done a lot of programs, done a lot of this, couldn't really ever get her business. I think she said, I spent oodles of money on, and there was that language, I spent, not invested. But she didn't get anywhere, and she was really burned out and just really had given up on the business altogether. And it's reality is there are some not so great ethical people out there. So you do have to check things out, check references, case studies, testimonials, and all those things to be sure that you're getting with
Yeah.
Somebody that knows what they're doing and can take you where you want to go.
And Kim, that's the worst part for me when I hear about a problem solver, because that's what I call business owners and entrepreneurs. We're problem solvers. We solve the world's problems. When COVID happened, it was an entrepreneur who got out there and figured it out, right? Figure out, how do we vaccinate? What is the vaccination? How do we do what we need to do? It was business owners and entrepreneurs that became the solution and switched their companies from providing one thing to providing PPE equipment and making sure that we had what we needed in order to do our best to survive this thing.
Right.
We're problem solvers. So it always pains me when I hear that a problem solver got so discouraged that they stopped solving problems. There's an African proverb that I believe in, and it's called Ubuntu. Ubuntu, Ubuntu. And it is very simple. And all it really means is I am great because you are. And I cannot be great unless you be great. And I tell people,
I love that.
As all, I've got 6 college degrees. I've been doing this work for 30 years. None of it matters if there's nobody around that I can exercise it on. I am great because you are. When people show up, when Kim gives me an opportunity to have a conversation with your audience, I can only be great because Kim let me. And Kim and I can only be great because you guys are listening. Right? It's just not possible to be great by yourself. It's just not possible. And so when I hear that somebody gave up on their dream, it crushes my heart, because I'm like, they may have had the solution to cancer. They may have had the solution to lupus. They may have had the solution to whatever our big problem is. But something happened along the way and they got beat down so far that they just gave up on solving the problem. Then it makes me wonder, like, how many issues we have in the world could have been solved had we understood that the only way I can be great is because you are. So my job is to help you be great, and your job is to help me be great.
I love it. I love that philosophy. What a great way to finish up.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for being on. I want to encourage the listeners, go download the CEOs Finish Strong. Let's see, you can go to reddevelopmentgroup.com. Is that right? To find it?
Right.
And we'll have that in the show notes with a link. And if you're listening, go do the download, rate the podcast. We'd love to get the word out about what Collette is doing, because it's a great service. Business owners need the strategy. They need to know what they're doing, the steps to take. And she's a great resource.
Thank you. And if you're not a business owner, but you know a business owner that could use the resource, put their information in. But my goal, and the reason why I'm giving this away, is because I really want to help as many problem solvers as I can, help us to continue to solve our problems, because that's how we're going. That's the quickest path to us getting through the harder times. And so my goal is to get this in the hands of as many people as I can.
I love it. I love it. Love your heart. This was such a great conversation. So, I mean, I just, anybody that wants to better the world, and that is, what you're doing. I really appreciate you. So thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you, Kim. This was great.
Are you ready to break through the barriers that are holding you back and reach a higher level in your business in just 4 hours? Be sure to click the link today and join other high-achieving professionals that have worked with Kimberly Lebbing to accelerate their success.